How we doing, everyone? Welcome to another edition of FSI's NASCAR DFS content. I am your host, TK Nation 47, joined by Andrew Barry Mega Ruler 31. How we doing this evening, Andrew? And are you ready for some more racing?
Yeah, it was an exciting weekend last week. We've got two races this week to looking forward to, so hopefully it will be pretty good racing.
So for those that aren't in the Discord and haven't been following along, another head-to-head victory for Mega last week when it came to the Cup Series. But TK, I think, came away with a little bit more extra coin in his pocket, another $100 GVP cashed. So the roll continues for me when it comes to overall money, but the head-to-head record not looking so good. Maybe we could take it turns in the Xfinity because maybe I got to win one someday. But
we'll see what we disagree on.
Yes. All right. So I'm following along with you here in our projections model. And if you want that projections model and any core lineups, any advice on the weekend for your lineups, you can follow us on our Twitter handle at FSIDFS.com or at FSI_DFS. You could find the link to the Discord channel in the bio, and you can get all the projections and core lineups from there. Okay, so let's get into it. We have 200 laps here, the Drydene 200, the Baby Monster Mile. What can we expect strategy-wise? Real quick, before we get into some of the rundown of the picks. Strategy-wise, do we have Cup drivers? What are we doing here when it comes to builds?
Well, I think this situation is almost exactly the same as last week at Darlington. It's an easier track to drive on, but I think it's the same package. It's very, very similar. If you're looking at comparison tracks to Dover, I mean, it is unique in the way it is, but I think Darlington and Bristol are the ones to kind of compare to. So we almost have, a really good sample size from last week to go on. I think you're going to look at some guys up front. Definitely want to try to figure out who the early lap leader is going to be, because you can pass on this track, but it's hard to get by the leader.
Yeah.
So plus you have some guys who wrecked last week who will be starting towards the back, who are good place for place differential. And you have some guys stepping in from the Truck Series who are good drivers to you have last year's champion and this year's potential champion in the field. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But I think, there's some guys. I see 5 guys over 10K, so you're going to have to figure out, which 2 of those that you want in your lineup, and then, where the mid-range plays are, and, how far you're willing to pay down to get those guys in, and are you willing to try to get 3 in and, take some risky plays to make it work.
Absolutely agree with all of your analysis. 40 cars on this short 1 mile track, a couple hairpin turns, some high banking. Like you said, it is easy to pass, but it is hard to pass the leader. Typically, we see a lot of domination when it comes to, the fast car is usually the one that's going to lead the most laps. It's not like driving can really put you over on a track like this. It's really about your setup. So
pit strategy and restarts come into play here also, because you could have the fast car, but if somebody gets ahead of you, like if you have problems with one of the tires and it slows you down, and a car gets ahead of you on pit road, especially if they're pitting under caution, which you don't have the field like stretched out as much as it is, you kind of lose your place advantage. And then if they can beat you on the restart, it might be, even if you have the fastest car, it might be hard to get past them.
True. Absolutely. All right. Well, let's get into it. We got the pole sitter Daniel Hemrick at 9,400. What are we thinking here?
I think we need to look at the top 3 here.
You want to roll with I was going to say, do you want to roll top 3? Let's do it. Allgaier second at 10.4, and then Noah Gragson 9.9.
I think I like Hemrick on the pole, but I think Allgaier, he won last week's race. He might not have had the best car, but he did really well and he won the race. So I think he's going to be very popular, and he could
Yeah.
definitely get ahead of Hemrick.
Hammer.
Hemrick last year, they ran this race back to back. He had a ride share last year, so he only ran the second one. So not as much experience here. Gibbs' car, Algar's in a good car, and Grayson, like, he's kind of the wild card here too. So could he possibly muscle his way around those two to get out front and stay out front? Wouldn't surprise me, but will he do something silly and probably end up losing the lead? Wouldn't surprise me either.
Sure. The only thing I have to add is Noah Gragson seems to be heating up as far as like the team goes. The entire 9 team seems to be firing on all cylinders. They did get hit with a disqualification last week. I think that could bring into their strategy this week as like a team that's probably desperate to win, because that finish last week can be thrown out after an appeal process. So I think
I didn't see, did they lose their crew chief or any?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm not positive,
because we saw
that,
like
though.
last week, and we didn't even talk about this on our video because I didn't realize it happened until after we shot, but Keselowski lost his crew chief, and the setup was all wrong, and he ended up like really struggling on that track. So
yeah,
that might be something to definitely watch here. Good point.
Yeah. So we'll have to double check that and see if the crew chief is in fact.
Check the notes below.
Check the notes below. And, that's another reason to get into the Discord. You get the information as soon as we get it. We always fire that news into the Discord, and you always get a leg up that way. So I think if he's got all of the team members with him until the appeal is over with, then I think he sets up for a really good play. Like I said, the team's firing on all cylinders. I'm not sure what Allgaier has done here in the past, but he's certainly a driver with some experience. And like you said, Hemrick did pretty well in one of them last year. I kind of have my eyes set on a different dominator, and we'll get to that a little bit later.
Allgaier was decent. He had an average running position of 2.1 for the first race, 6.9 for the second race. And if you look at comparable tracks last year, 2.9, 3.9, and then he was 7.2 at the last race weekend. So
he's definitely going to be chalky then. Yeah, he's going to probably be heavily touted. So Allgaier might be a preferred cash option up here, and then the other two may be GPPs.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we're looking at. Allgaier has the third overall composite speed score. Grayson has the first.
Okay, that's kind of in line with where my head's at. I think Hemrick still makes for a decent play, but I do kind of gravitate towards Gragson. And now with all that information on Allgaier, I'd have to be in that way, probably in cash, more safer driver. Next up, we have Brandon Jones at 9.7, Harrison Burton at 9.1, and then Josh Berry in the 8 car at 8,900. That'll be the top 6. Thoughts on them, guys?
Josh Berry, I think, he's been doing well here, and he wouldn't surprise me if he could hang up here. I like the price at 8.9, but I think it might be a little bit risky. I originally have him as a cash play. I might need to rethink that. The other two, Burton and Jones, they're like the battle of the underachievers here because both of them could win. They have their Gibbs cars. It's a great program, but Jones finds his way into wrecks, and Burton just doesn't seem to be able to get over like the crest of the hill.
Yeah. I think these guys, I like out of the 3, Harrison Burton the most. He's had a lot of decent consistency when it comes to finishing position. Barry is always a wild card. I don't know how I like him on these shorter tracks. I don't know, maybe experience I'm kind of leaning towards this week with the Monster Mile. And then Brandon Jones is the boomer bust candidate every week. So I always take 1 to 2 flyers and move on from Brandon Jones. I might do the same. I might not. I might totally fade it. But we have Allgaier at 7th. Is this where we start our dominator look?
Um, Digger.
Almendinger. Did I say Allgaier?
I get them
Oops.
confused all the time too.
I meant Almendinger. Sorry, 10-7.
I think in consideration for cash, I think he's going to be highly owned. I think people kind of look at the place differential and the season he had. I just don't know if this is really his track style. I mean, his average running position last week, a similar track situation was 5.3, but some of the other similar tracks he ran last year, like his composite scores, like average was 14.4. So keep in mind, like, last year he was like the road course guy, and at short tracks sometimes have road course principles, but I'm not 100% sold on him. I don't hate the play, but I don't think he's my favorite.
Okay, so here's where we disagree. Number one, I really love Allmendinger. He's writing it down. I really love Allmendinger. Dover has those hairpin high banking turns similar to Bristol. I think that correlates really well with Allmendinger's driving style. The road course background, the break in, gas out kind of mentality. I think that sets up really well for the 16 car. I think you get a little bit of a discount compared to two other cars that we'll mention later on in the field. I think it sets up for a great GPP dominator, but I think you'll need a little bit more of the place differential with drivers to be named later, and or the maybe the higher floor when it comes to Allgaier in his starting position. But I think Allmendinger's in that sweet spot for the perfect GPP dominator, and I'm going to have him in my a few solo shots in the 10. So I think that's going to be where I start some of my fantastic GPP builds of late. So there's smell the head-to-head now. Next up, we have Jeremy Clements in the 51, starting 8th at 7K, and Zane Smith filling in for the Justin Haley COVID protocol. It seems that news came out today. Zayn Smith, typically a truck driver, is filling in for Justin Haley, who will not be racing this weekend in either the Xfinity or Cup, so don't choose him. Clements, Zane Smith, 7K and 8K. Any love for these two?
Might as well throw Moffatt in there to complete the top 10.
All right. Moffatt 7-2.
I think they're all, well, Clements is a fade for me. I like him, but I think he's starting way too far forward here.
I agree.
I like him if he's like maybe 15th to 20th.
5K, maybe I'd throw a flyer. 7K, I'm gonna have to pass.
Yeah. His average running position is like, I think it's like 19, like the composites. So
he's going backwards.
Not the 18.5. I have it. So no, Zane Smith is intriguing.
Yeah.
He's the Cup Series champion. He won last week. Or was it the week before? I can't remember. They all blend together. It might have been last week. But he's kind of struggled, kind of like Chase Elliott, like after the championship season. It hasn't been like horrible, but just hasn't like got up there winning. So, but he does have one win under his belt. I think he can be competitive in Xfinity.
I think you're thinking of Creed.
Creed? Oh.
Yeah. All good. Yeah, Zane Smith's his teammate in the Truck Series.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, and Smith is a decent driver. He might have a win this year. I'm not positive on that, but he's in a good car. So I think it's very intriguing. You save like, I think $500 here, because I think Haley was like 8.4, 8.5. So I don't know if I'm going to play him in cash starting that far forward, but in GPPs, I'm going to put him in at least one lineup because I kind of really want to see what he can do. Sure.
I think it's worth a flyer. Brett Moffatt, like we know earlier from the couple videos past, he's thrown everything into the Xfinity, so I expect a fair share of positive results. But 10th place, 72
car, but I think he can hang up there. I just don't think that his composite's 14.8, so I see him hit top 15, but I don't see him.
15th is like right where I see him. Yeah, and we have other guys that are going to be coming from the back that are going to be passing a couple of the cars that we're about to get into here. But I do think the price tag on Moffatt is fairly good to take a couple of GBP tags at.
Better than the next guy.
Yeah, better than the next guy, which is Michael Annette at 8,700, starting 11th. I do not like the price tag.
I liked him last week. I think it was like 15th or so, a lower tag, and you figured you could probably get up to the top 10, but
yeah,
I don't know. His composite's 13, so I think he can kind of hold his place, but 87, I'm not paying to find out.
Exactly. The price tag is what throws you off here, and that's going to be a no for me. Next up, we have Ryan Seeg. This driver's been in the 9K range for what seems like weeks, and we talk about it.
Finally priced right for once.
Exactly. I was saying we typically are talking about how he's too expensive, and now we get him at 7.6. I kind of have more interest, even at starting 12.
His composite's 12. He's starting 12th, so I think, it's interesting. If I'd say last man in cash, I'm not making him a priority. GPP definitely, but and I love how he always does different strategies and stuff. And as you said, it's hard to pass a leader. So if he nails it right, like if he pits early and then there's a caution and everybody else has to pit or something, like, he gets off sequence and it works out for him. And then, it takes him a while it all depends on how he does on the restarts at that point. But I mean, he's one that could save in Xfinity. You don't get as many tires as you do in Cup. And there's a lot of times where these guys are running on old tires for many, many laps at the end of the race on a long run. And if he's able to save us then that could be golden.
Yeah, I think this is like the sweet spot for Seeg. Like, we've been waiting for the price tag to come down. This is a track where offsetting strategies works. And this is typically a team that takes shots at those strategies to try to win events or top 5 events so they can get into the playoffs. I think this is kind of setting up pretty well for Seeg. I would consider him a cash play at 7.6. Next up, we have Jeb Burton. I love Jeb Burton in this spot. I think I'm on Colleague Racing. I think that's where my head's at here. 8,300. I like the starting position. I like his track IQ. He's a smart driver. I think he's going to be a driver that gets even plus place differential, even at 13th. I like him and his price tag at 8,300. Your thoughts?
Absolutely agree. He's a top 10 car. He's won a race this year.
Yep.
And even though it was the rain race. So,
well, hey,
given the victory,
you were in the right position. So
his name's on the trophy. Yeah, I definitely. He's a top 10 car. He could maybe even a top 5 car. These college cars seem to be fast. Yeah. They're able to pass people sometimes on tracks and in situations where others can't. It's a good team. They've got good notes they share. So, yeah, everything points in the right direction there.
Amen to that. Okay, next up we have probably the chalk, maybe, or not maybe the chalk, but definitely a very, high owned play just on the namesake, which is crazy to think. Ty Gibbs at 11.5. Is the price tag worth it?
Actually, I don't think he's going to be chalky at all. I think you find him in less than 20% of lineups.
I think you're right,
because the price tag, and I think people saw him as human last week. I think he had like a pit road penalty or something. So
late in the race, and it kind of threw everyone off, like the optimal strategy with Gibbs. Like, everyone had a lot of Gibbs, and he wasn't in the optimal lineup.
Yeah, and he's the most expensive driver here, and I don't think
by 500 too.
Right, and let's just look at it. 2 more down from him is Austin.
Yeah, just do it. Yeah, Cindric is the talk of the race.
Yeah, if you save $500, and you probably have one of, if not the best driver in Xfinity in the same situation. Why would you spend 11.5 on him in cash when you can have Austin Cindric for $500 less, starting 2 places less, who could definitely win this race
and lead laps and a lot of them. I think
laps.
I think Cindric, even though Ty Gibbs in a really fast car, really good driver and everything, he hasn't dominated a race. Like, he won Daytona Road Course, but he only led like 4 or 5 laps or like 20 laps at the end. Like he didn't dominate that race. Cindric can dominate races time in and time out, and he's $500 cheaper starting 2 starts back. Like you said, I'm team Cindric over Gibbs for the majority of my lineups, but I'm still going to have a couple of Gibbs lineups in case, hey,
Same.
I'm completely wrong. You're an idiot. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's going to be our strategy on the Ty Gibbs, Austin Cindric scenario. Going to be starting lineups with Cindric, then maybe one of these guys in the high 9s, low 10s. If that's how my builds are going to start. Next up, we have Myatt Snyder in the
middle. He was
middle.
sandwiched between the 2 of those. He peaked early. He won that race, and he really hasn't done much since. So
I like him on 1.5 mile tracks for some reason. I like their car setup for intermediate tracks. I think he didn't do too well at Bristol. I'm off Cindric. I mean, 7.4 starting 15th. It's not the worst play, I would say. It's just meh. It's all right. If you land on them, play them. How about that? Next up, we have Tommy Joe Martins and Brandon Brown. These are the 2 drivers, the very first drivers we see in the 5K range, starting 17th and 18th. Oh no, I'm sorry, I have this wrong.
Alex Lab.
Alex Lab in the 36 car, 5,600. Tommy Joe Martins in the 53. Tommy Joe had a really good race last week. Any love for Tommy Joe?
Both these guys are GPP to fade. I think they're starting too far forward. Even though they're in the 5K, I'd rather I'd rather take like Jesse Little starting 33rd for 300 less or 600 less than playing these guys. Or once we get down close to the bottom, there's a guy at 5.7. I pay $100 more for the guy starting 35th. That's in a good situation over these 2.
Okay. Next up, we have Brandon Brown in his team-owned car, 6,900, starting 19th.
I think
that's not a bad price tag.
I think he's going to be one of the chalkier plays. I think he's going to have high ownership. You're a sub 7K guy who is having a solid season and running
very solid.
10. I just had a little bit of bad luck last week.
Yeah, I like it.
He didn't have a great day at Darlington. I think he finished like 23rd, 24th, 25th, somewhere around there. I think he might have had a flat tire or 2 that caused it. So I think it was just bad luck, but I think he bounces back this week, and maybe people who played him last week feel burnt and, we'll be off him, but definitely love him. He'll be in my cash lineup.
We'll get to the guy that burnt us. I think I might be going right back to the well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was the last guy in my cash lineup too. Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have Riley Herbst driving in the 98 Stuart Haas machine, 7,900. It's not too expensive. Certainly a guy, if I land on him, I might play him here in this spot.
I'm out. Maybe in GPP. Here's the thing. People are going to see the car number and not the driver. They're going to see the 98 and they're going to know that it's Chase Briscoe's last year. Remember like all of like the dominant that he had and think, it was more the car on the team, the actual driver. Riley Herbst has just been underwhelming for me.
Yes.
His composite is 14, which is, looks like he could get a couple place differential points, but I will let the fields play him, and I will I haven't finished in the 18th, so that's like 2 place differential points, but I would rather let them beat me with him than take him. I think there's better plays out there.
I'll say this, I like Jeb Burton and Ryan Seeg more than I do like Riley Herbst.
Yeah.
Will I have like maybe 4 or 5 lineups that don't have either Bush or that don't either have Seeg or Burton in it? Will they have Herbst? Maybe. So
I know 100% of my lineups won't have Bush in
it. Nice. All right. We have David Starr and Timmy Hill, Ryan Vargas, BJ McLeod, Colby Howard. That is your 21st through 25th. We are on the fade train.
Goodbye.
Too far forward.
How did this pack end up here?
Probably from the silly wreck that. Oh no, that was Truck Series.
Yeah.
Great question. To be honest, great question.
I just saw like what algorithm put these guys, like these guys should be like 31, 32, 33, 34, not
Yeah.
21, 22, 23, 24. That's a glitch. But anyways,
Yeah. Okay, fades from the 21st spot through the 25th. Next up, we have Bailey Curry at 6,100 and Cody Ware in 5,900. Cody Ware having a quietly good season for this team.
And Curly too. I think both these guys are going to be. I think Curry's going to be the highest owned guy out of here. He could probably get up into the top 20. He's been decent. Where I see both of them scoring probably anywhere 24 to 25 DK points. So that puts them both at like around 4x, a little over that. So I think they're both cash plays. I mean, I think Curly's going to be a little bit more popular because I think Ware's had a couple of mechanical issues, and I think people are going to see he like runs in Cup also, and he's like broken down quite a few times there. So I think they might attribute it to that and forget which series that they're in. Like we get confused ourselves. So.
Sure, yeah. No, I think both plays are good. I like Cody Ware as probably the GPP play over Curry. If you wanted to wonder which one for cash, I guess I would lean Curry if you were going that route. Next up is a guy I do not play, and Jeffrey Earnhardt.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I just don't play.
Beautiful lineup. Like I had the race winner, I had the place differential, and he did absolutely nothing for me. So I was like mid cash when it could have been so much more.
All right. Next up, we have the guy that was the talk of our video last week in Josh Williams. Yeah. Are we going right back to the well?
Blows an engine.
Yeah, I mean, how do you play? I don't know. You can't predict that. That's just bad luck. We were talking all about his consistency, and first race of the year, he had any kind of issues. I'm going right back to the well at 6,700. I hope people also played him, felt burned, and they're not going to play him. I'm going to tell our listeners, have a short memory in DFS. Don't take it to heart. Each week's different. Each slate's different. Let's go right back to the well on Josh Williams.
I know he exited early, but his average running position was 18.4.
Yeah, he was a great play, and it just fell off. Bad engine. It happens.
Even last year in the Dover races, his average running position was 22 and 23. So that's some place differential. We're getting the same. Yep. Time me up.
Yeah, we're back on the Josh Williams train. It's going to work this time. And next up, we have John Hunter Nemechek for Sam Hunt Racing, 10-1. This is the Truck Series points leader. Definitely a great driver. He's driven in Cup cars before. Are we in love? What is our thoughts here on Hunter Nemechek?
I really
certainly we'll have shares, but
yeah, I'm locking him in. He's probably my favorite cash play. I'm mildly concerned about the equipment, but like he was okay in Cup. Like I kind of feel like Chase Briscoe this year, some of the other guys that are like Galey that are up there and just struggling. He's like, you know what? I'm just gonna go drop down the trucks. Like hit the reset button. Let's start over. I mean, he had success. I mean, he comes from Joe Nemechek was his father. There's good racing.
Yeah, good racing. Mm-hmm.
He knows what he's doing, and he's gotten a great ride in the Truck Series and is just dominating there. So I think he's learned a lot, and I think this is a good opportunity. I wish he was in a better ride. I wish he's the one that stepped into the Collie car, because that would have been
I know.
Awesome.
Yeah, when I saw his name, test. I was hoping his name.
And I know 10,100 is a lot to pay to see what happens, but I think that he can do it. Like, we just blew a whole stretch of fades here that, even if he only gets up to 20th in this, I still, that's 10 place differential points. I'll take it. And he's one that could potentially get up and lead this race.
Yeah, I think for his team, he's probably going to have to be on a different strategy to pull that off. I certainly think his ceiling is top
But
10.
he is on a different strategy because he's not racing for the title here. So
Exactly.
he doesn't care about the points for stages here in Xfinity. He's got such an advantage there.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's the driver pitting with 4 to go in the stage. He's going to get to stay out. He's going to get track position. That's going to be his race model coming into this race. I certainly am going to have shares. I think I would rather play Cindric in cash, but I would totally understand
I think you get both of them.
If you didn't want to play anyone inside the top 3.
Right.
And maybe you can stretch it if you wanted to go with Curry and some of these value plays like we've talked about. And I haven't really worked on builds much, but simply just looking at the math here, I think it might shake out where you could actually stretch yourself and fit Nemechek. I just worry about the equipment. I think that's an obvious with, Sam Hunt Racing, but the driving pedigree certainly could make up for some of the bad equipment that lacks for his team. Next up, we have JJ Galey in our sports, sporting the 23 car. 8,100 seems a bit much, but all considering the 31st starting position, he certainly could be a play that pays off. I just worry about the upside with the finishing position. Your thoughts?
Well, I actually really like it because he's in the 23 car, the R Motorsports car. It's the same team as Brett Moffatt here. He's
Right.
not in a junk car, so I actually really like it. I think he's 81 just because he does have a lot of potential for place differential and stuff. He could score 30 DK points here and hit the 4X that we actually look for. So I definitely like him. I don't know if I'm going to play him in cash, but if he works into the build, I would definitely, he'd be in my cash pool.
Okay. Yeah, I certainly talked me into it. The team seems to shake out for JJ Yaley. Next up, we have Kyle Weatherman at 32. You have Jesse Little at 5K. Jade Buford at 49. Weatherman was 51. That's 32 through 34. Any love for those 3?
I think Weatherman's a fade. Little, I could see in a GPP like Jade Buford. I think that it's a decent team and the tech has been good and the car hasn't broken down. Starting 34 at 49.
It hasn't broken down yet, so that means it's going to. Is that we gotta foresee this?
Big Machine Racing is a decent team.
I know, but hey, we didn't think Josh Williams was going to break down. So we're trying to see the magic ball here.
but 49, like if I'm going ahead, I'm looking at it right now. If I go like Cindric, throw Hemrick, who's like the cheapest of the top 3, and Nemechek in the line, that gives me 6.5. So then if I throw in Buford,
Brown.
Well, they lose 73. I don't know how much Brown was.
69. Or Williams.
Yeah, so that leaves 77 left. So I mean that gives you a choice of like Castle, Seeg, Snyder, Moffatt. I think all of them. I'm not saying this is a cash build by any means, but if you're trying to play the 2 guys that I really like in cash and a top guy, I think it is a viable lineup.
So of the cheapest guys, Buford may be the best option. Under 5K or around 5K, under 5.5, we'll say.
Yes.
Okay. Next up, we have Kyle Seeg. Now, is there relation with Ryan Seeg here for the number 90?
So this guy is another young gun that's in ARCA, like Josh Berry was, like Ty Gibbs was.
Did he win at Darlington in the ARCA series?
I think he did.
I think so. His name looks familiar. I should know this. Starting 35th in the 90 car, 5,700. They certainly have him priced up for a guy that's just starting out as if he's somebody.
Well, that's because they have him. He's in a good car with an experienced crew chief.
Yeah.
The car is a sound car that's not going to break down. It's not going to be a start and park. It's somebody that I really, really like. This guy. I know I like Jay Buford, but Kyle Seeg is probably my favorite guy down here in this range to put my
There
cash.
you go. Yeah. Okay. Certainly going to follow you, tell you on that pick. We have Joe Groff and Landon Castle, two other guys that you would be probably thinking worthy of consideration, 64 and 77. Any love for these two?
Yeah, definitely a little bit expensive, especially Castle, but he's just had some bad luck. He's got an average running position of 20. So I
Oh,
can
okay.
definitely see 15 place differential points. I
Yeah.
think he was just, oh, actually, no, here's the situation. He switched cars because they need to get this 6 car some points. He and Ryan Vargas. This is Ryan Vargas's car by
Ooh,
number, but I think
okay.
they only switched the teammates just the number of the car, just
Got
because
it.
Kessel's a better driver, and for them to be able to qualify for things, they need to get points into this car. So I think this is awesome situation here because I
Perfect
think
storm.
everything that
Place
Landon Castle
differential.
has had for the season, you're just going to paint a number 6 on the car instead of a number 4, and you have somebody that's got tremendous opportunity for place differential.
Yeah. Cool. Any love for Joe Groff?
Yeah, I think he's definitely viable down here. Also, I think he's just had some bad luck, and that's why he um, is down here. Average running position of 25 overall, so he doesn't deserve to be starting 36.
Yeah, he had some bad luck last week. Next up, we have
I see he getting ahead of that train that we talked about of the star Tim,
right,
Bryant Vargas, and BJ McLeod, Colby Howard. So
right. Okay, to round things out, we have Matt Jaskell, Matt Mills, and Greg Galding. Any for the three?
no, and Golding just because he's an experienced driver, driven for a couple of bit. His average running position is 33rd, so he's starting 40th, so there's 7 place differential points. There's no place to go but up. I'd say GPP only. I mean, 68's a little bit. It's not like he's a 5K guy here, but
Yeah, the price
again,
tag's a bit too much for me.
yeah, if you land on him as the last guy in, I would rather take him at 68 than
Give me Josh Williams.
yeah.
I'd rather take Josh Williams
Really?
over him. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just price differential and finishing position upside.
Yeah, but I'm looking at up against Brett Moffatt. I know Brett Moffat's a good driver, but starting in the 10th position, I would rather save the $400 and play Galding, and then if that can get me one of my drivers up someplace, if I'm going up from let me find somebody random down here. If my last guy in was going to be Joe Graff, and that 500 gets me up to Josh Williams we were talking about, or even Brandon Brown. That's the difference right there between Joe Graff and Brendan Brown. It playing, the 2v2 there is you take Brown and Galding, or you take Williams and Castle. So
okay. I like that build. I like the whole breakdown that we went through here. Is there any finishing thoughts?
No, I haven't really looked at the weather, but I think it should be decent. I haven't heard of any concerns anywhere. So, but
It sounds like a beautiful weekend around the country. So, any weather concerns pop up, you can find us in the Discord for any of that news. That link is in the bio for our Twitter with our Twitter handle at FSI_DFS. I am TK Nation 47. You can follow me on Twitter at that handle. You can follow Mega Ruler 31 on Twitter as well. Like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel. A lot of cool things coming out for the summer. NASCAR all season. PGA is going to have some majors coming up. We have the PGA Championship next week. Daily MLB cores project. I'm not sure. You guys doing projections, or we're just doing cores and breakdowns?
Yeah, but we cover more than just classic. We do tiers. We do all the showdown slates. We even try to do early slates. Even just
Saturday earlys
too. They're completely free.
Yep, there you go. Triple play every week, every day. Thank you for joining.
We do something unique where we break out the early slate. So if there's an early slate, a lot of our competitors out there don't even cover them, we'll do a special video just for early.
Cool. You guys got to check that out for tomorrow, Saturday. I'm sure there's an early slate coming out. Okay. Thank you again for listening, and catch us tomorrow for the. I'm sure that video will come out overnight, so you'll be able to get to see that before the race time. Okay, guys. Thank you. You have a good evening, and talk to you tomorrow.